Saying goodbye to Brandon Moreno. Ladies and gentlemen, Larrydoom here. We like to talk about MMA, fight game, everything under the sun of the fight game. I'm just taking a general interest in, so I'm gonna make that segue into this. That's what the YouTube channel's about. Thank you guys for supporting. But anyway, saying goodbye to Brandon Moreno. Brandon Moreno today just got on Instagram and maybe other social media platforms and announced his retirement for the foreseeable future. He said in his comments about how he took 2 losses in a row. He does everything in fight camp and training, and can't seem to get the victory out of it, and therefore it's frustrating, and therefore he wants to step back for a little bit. Well, looking at things, first off, he obviously definitely can, given the money he's made as champion and in other fights that he has had in the UFC. But should he? I can't, say for real because, again, I'm not him, but as a big fan of his, as a fan of the fight game, I really think he shouldn't. Looking at his last fight against Royval, it was very frustrating. Keep in mind, I'm a Brandon Moreno fan. I'm a big Brandon Moreno fan. I've been since he got his belt, since he first got the belt. I think it was against Figgy, was it? I'm pretty sure it was against Figgy, but when he first got the belt, um, I loved him since then. I love his attitude, his charisma, the way he looks, the way he speaks, the way he holds himself, the way he fights. He checked every box on the MMA fighter critique list for me at least. And I'll describe you the moment when I officially found out about this, which was actually about 20 minutes ago. I'm downstairs in my living room, and I'm scrolling through Instagram. I'm trying to post my next comedy vid on my Instagram page. Check that out. Um, uh, it's in the description somewhere. I'm Larrydoom. You see Larrydoom on Instagram. The username is the word ring period 5 zeros. But anyway, back to what we're talking about. I'm scrolling through Instagram and I come in and see a Brandon Moreno post. And before anything, I notice a plaque. I notice not a plaque, a case. Like an awards case, like how they have the cases where they put the medals. And they have the felt in the background, in the back of the case. That's what I see. I see a big case in a room. There's a desk in front of the case, but within the case is a Brandon Moreno is a Brandon Moreno fight kit, which is his shirt, his UFC shirt, and his UFC shorts. And then I see out of the left side of the screen, Brandon Moreno walk in, sit down, and give a heavy sigh. And at the end of the day, the heavy sigh sealed it. And I didn't have to see any more of it. I exited the app because I had already made a comedy post, so I was done with being on Instagram for a while. And I automatically knew Brandon Moreno's retiring. Because, there's no other explanation to have, the scene of all his accomplishments in the back of some room, him walking out into said room, sitting down at the desk in front of the camera, and giving a heavy sigh. That usually comes with bad news, and the preceding news that he gave is indeed bad to Brandon Moreno fans at least. Needless to say, I'm very disappointed. I am, a bit sad because of this. Again, I'm a Brandon Moreno fan. I love what he does for the fight game, what he does for the UFC, what he does for himself, for his family. He is such an amazing fighter, has such an amazing spirit. And I'm just a big fan. I was very frustrated during the Royval fight. And in the next segment of this video, I'll get into what I'm especially frustrated about and what I disagree, or what I would counter his arguments for retiring, or what I would say to counter his arguments for retiring, in general. So yeah, he had mentioned the 2 fights he had, the 2 fights that he lost in a row. It was Royval and Pantoja. And his frustration with the outcome of those fights and what he put into, conditioning and getting ready for those fights. It's a lot to get ready for those fights. I'm not a UFC fighter. I've barely started martial arts. But as an outsider, I can tell you wholeheartedly, conditioning, practicing, getting ready for any UFC, PFL, one championship fight, it's hell on earth because you got to go through all these drills, you got to do all these runs, you got to lift all these weights, you got to fight all these people just to get yourself ready for about 25 minutes of pain, less than if the fight ends in a knockout. And it's a difficult thing to do. It's a difficult thing to do, and it makes you question what you're doing. It makes you question how you're doing it. It makes you question why you're here. And again, I don't have much experience in the whole fight game with any martial art, but I've seen many of a fitness montage video watching these guys suffering. Even KSI, who's not even that much of a fighter. He's just kind of playing at fighting, if you will. But he himself was going through so much torture to prepare himself for those matches against Tommy Fury or Logan Paul. It's hell training for these fights. So I absolutely understand the difficulty with going through all these months of hard training just to lose. But I can't help but feel that Brandon Moreno's making the wrong decision. And it's his decision to make. I'm not refuting that. I can't, drive up to his house and make him change his mind. His decision is his decision. But again, I can't help but think that it's just a waste of time and talent here. Yes, I do believe that if you're on quite a losing streak, that you definitely should consider getting out of the fucking sport. Tony Ferguson, but only 2 losses in a row. I think he should at least try it 2 more fights. At least try 1 more run. I know he hasn't held on to the championship belt for that long in his career. He's usually lost it, after 1 or maybe no defenses, and that is a pretty strong point to be made. But I still feel like he's got some fight left in him, and I can't help but once again say that he handled his last fight, the Royval fight, completely and utterly wrong. Do I believe he had the proper gas tank? I believe he did. I just think he was too, I don't know, not slow, but like he just sat on a lot of strikes. He didn't strike. He wasn't active. He wasn't active. It was Geoff Neal against Ian Gary. A guy who's got the power to put the other guy out, but will refuse to throw combinations. He'll maybe throw a 1-2, but for fear of getting put on a highlight reel in a counter shot from the opponent, they'll throw that 1-2 and move on back and shell up and wait and wait and wait for something that's never fucking coming. So it's frustrating. Watching the Brandon Moreno-Royval fight, Brandon Moreno versus Brandon Royval, it was a frustrating experience because, again, I'm a Brandon Moreno fan. I like Brandon Royval, but I wanted Moreno to come out and win that fight. Did I think he was going to fight Pantoja afterwards, after he beat Moreno? Not really, because of how many ass whoopings Pantoja has given out to many a fighter in the division. But I think, that would have definitely put some fucking gas in Moreno's tank, to at least come out with 2 more victories against 2 other guys and then build up, one last big shot at the title. So yeah, very, very sad, very, it seems wrong. It just seems wrong. It just seems early. Losing that much of a legend, that much of a potential legend, because I feel like, yeah, he's great, but has he achieved legendary status? I'm gonna disagree. but I definitely think he's achieved noteworthy status. You know, he's got the heart of the Mexican people. Um, but does he have the heart of the of the UFC as a whole? You know, to be mentioned as a legend. You know, I feel like it's arguable, but I don't think it's definite. So yeah, overall, I really feel like Moreno had the tools and had it in him to win that fight against Royval, and I think he just screwed it up. To be honest with you, you know, being too complacent, being too comfortable, shying away from combos, from combinations. And if he really had the tank and had the means to win, he would have threw those combinations and he would have caught Royval with something nasty after a jab, after a wide right. He could have put together something to just get Royval out of there because Royval was practically begging to get put out of there, given how damaged his what was it, his right ankle or his right foot was, something on his right leg or one of Royval's legs was heavily damaged early on in the fight, and Royval was just trying to maintain and survive off that beaten up leg, and Brandon Moreno wouldn't take it. He wouldn't take the big moment. He wouldn't go for it. He thought he could just sit and, just do enough, just enough to win the judge's favor. Just enough. And that wasn't the case. He lost again. And now we're seeing a broken and beaten down Moreno throw in his gloves. And it's sad to see. It's sad to watch. It makes you think. And I can't help but say that Brandon Moreno is wrong to do so. It's Larrydoom signing off. We got more UFC content for you coming in the following days. I'm going to stay consistent. Love you guys. Fuck you.